We're returning now to one of our top stories. As we've been reporting, the wording of the Indigenous Voice to Parliament referendum is all but confirmed. First Nations leaders in Queensland's Gulf of Carpentaria want to ensure the success of the voice is based on economic participation rather than being politically driven. Joining me live now is Fred Pascoe. He's a proud Kerjaya man and traditional owner from Normanton and also chair of the Great Regional Economic Aboriginal Trust. Fred, we really appreciate you making the time. Thank you so much. Just firstly, what would the voice referendum passing mean to you? How significant would that be?
It'd be very significant if you consider the last time we had a referendum to do with Indigenous people was the same year I was born. So it's been a lifetime, and these opportunities don't come along too often. Hence, we've got to get this right. We've got to make sure that it works. And look, in my knowledge, in my experience, what works on the ground in these communities is economic development. If you want to close the gap, if you want to give kids a future, if you want to make your communities better, economic development is a vehicle that I honestly believe we need to keep going down.
And so how would the voice promote economic development? Because as you know, critics are arguing that the voice won't find a job for an unemployed Indigenous person, that it won't change social issues on the ground, it won't change the crime rate, the incarceration rate, it won't close the health gaps we know our Indigenous Australians suffer from. What do you say to that argument?
What's happening now is someone in Canberra or Brisbane, in my case, comes up with an idea that they're going to run a program on employment, or they're going to run a program on health, or they're going to run this program. We don't have a say in it. Yet, when that program fails, guess who gets blamed by? The black people, the Aboriginal people. We get blamed. And we've had nothing to do with it. We've had nothing to do with the design, the concept of those programs. And yet we're the scapegoat at the end when they fail. And my God, how many programs have we seen fail? Surely we can do things better. And that's why I'm a supporter of the voice, because what's working now isn't working. What we got now isn't working. So that's why I support it. And look, no concept from day one is going to be perfect. It's going to need, the rules are going to be there and how we operate, but it's going to be the people that they get on this thing that's going to drive it. And it's no use, as I said, just being a political voice. We need to be able to focus on being able to participate in the economy around us. That's how we're going to drive change. That's how we're going to drive intergenerational change. That's how we're going to make a difference. And hopefully, this voice is the first step of that journey.
Politics, though, is going to be what's driving the yes and no campaigns. Are you nervous at all about how the no campaign will be conducted? Are you worried that this debate could be a divisive one for the country?
Very much so, very much so. If you consider the previous referendum in 1967, we very much had the moral high ground, the moral compass, and Australia got that. And that's why it was the most successful referendum ever in this country. I honestly believe we don't have that moral high ground anymore. And that's what makes it even more difficult and makes me more worried and concerned that that this one fails. Because if it fails, the politicians can ride off into the sunset. They can go and do their thing. It's me and my people and my grandchildren and my grandchildren's children that are going to be faced with the effects of this. So we've got to get it right. And it's a major concern I do have, that it is what it is and we've got to deal with it. But for God's sake, realise you're playing with people's lives here.
So, Fred, do you think that this can actually pass without bipartisan support at the top?
No, we need bipartisan support. Look, Indigenous policies have been a political football for years, decades. And I've certainly for years wanted a bipartisan support on a lot of policy issues with Indigenous people. And, I've been in this game. 1988 was the first board of an Indigenous company that I came onto. And, every 3-4 years we see a change in government. We see programs getting rolled out the door. We see another program getting rolled in because some white fella thinks that he knows the best for a black fella. And we're tired of it. We're tired of it. We want to have a say in our own affairs.
Fred Pascoe, we really appreciate you taking the time to give us your insights and views on the upcoming debate over the voice that the country is about to have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.